Hey folks, this is Dave Sundstrom. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm traveling all the way back to the 70s to talk about some really great Saturday morning TV shows and the people who starred in them. First up, I'll be remembering Sid and Marty Krofft's Wonderbug, which was part of the Krofft Super Show on ABC. And then I'll be flipping the channel over to CBS to talk about Ark II and Shazam, and more specifically their stars Terry Lester and Jackson Bostwick. And along the way, of course, I'll have some fun retro surprises.
It's an all-new Funshine Saturday on ABC. We're Captain They'll take you to the Krofft Super Show, where you'll meet Schleppcar, who, with a magic horn, turns into the amazing Wonderbug. You'll never see such way-out tricks as Wonderbug can do when he and his friends are called on for help. It's Wonderbug on the Krofft Super Show on ABC.
$7.34. That was the price. Just sitting in a junkyard waiting for some kids to find him and find that magical horn that would transform little old Schleppcar into Wonderbug. I've gotten lots of comments requesting a Wonderbug video. Yes, I watched it as a kid, and yes, I loved it. And it passed the merch test with flying colors. This is just a smidgen of the numerous items available to a discriminating shopper back in the late 70s. Didn't have the game or the lunchbox, but I did have the Viewmaster, and my little bro had the coloring book, I think. There was also a Gold Key comic book. I seem to recall reading an issue or two. Beyond the merchandise, this show was popular for a reason. It was just fun. They were like 12 or 13-minute episodes, short and sweet, nothing original about it. In fact, the show took its cues from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon called Speed Buggy, as well as Disney's Love Bug movie series. And the cast had a ton of chemistry. Watching the episodes now, many of them can still be found on YouTube. Anyway, watching the episodes now, it's clear that these three actors had no grand aspirations regarding what they were doing on the show. And let's not forget about good old Schleppcar. Truly the heart of the show, not that grandstanding show-off Wonderbug. Well, actually, both cars were voiced by veteran actor Frank Welker. His list of accomplishments, well, it's just too darn long to cover here on this short video, but let's just say Frank, who was the original voice of Fred on Scooby-Doo, continues to do great work to this day.
We'll return after these messages.
A Play-Doh man, a cat, a dog, a funny crocodile, a hobby horse, a yellow frog, a monkey with a smile, a cuckoo bird, an apple tree, a willy walrus, a moo-moo cow, a bumblebee, a Play-Doh-potamus, an elephant, a ball, a house, a polka dot giraffe, an aeroplane, a ship, a mouse, a face to make you laugh. Play-Doh, Play-Doh, you can make it with Play-Doh.
Every Play-Doh 4-pack has 4 blendable colors. Play-Doh, from the Play-Doh people.
You know what kids love? Monsters. I'm Gorgonzola, one of the new monster vitamins. We come in a haunted house, 7 of us.
I'm Screaming Mimi. I'm Squeaky.
I'm the blob.
We're delicious. Mom, we think children should get vitamins by eating right, but when they don't, monsters can help. New monster vitamins and monster vitamins with iron. Look for the haunted house in your favorite store.
I know there are a lot of Terry Lester fans out there who are going to question my decision to use a picture of him as Jonah from Ark II on the thumbnail for this video. After all, Lester received the most accolades from his role as Jack Abbott on the daytime soap opera The Young and the Restless, which he played for almost a decade. Still, at least for me, when I think about Terry Lester, I think of Ark II. It was a show that I really dug. In fact, CBS was my go-to network for Saturday morning programming right around when this show debuted, because they had a couple of other live-action shows that I was really fond of. Yep, I've talked at length about both of these wonderful shows in the past, so for now, all I will say is that I'll post links to both of those videos at the end of this one. Okay, moving on. Ark II reminded me of a Gene Roddenberry TV movie that I'd seen a few years earlier called Earth 2, with a dash of Logan's Run mixed in for good measure. It was fairly low budget, and like all of the live-action TV shows in the 70s, there was always a really important lesson to be learned by the end of the episode. And while Jonah wasn't my favorite character on the show, I'll reserve those honors for Ruth and Samuel, I still thought that Lester did a great job as the commander, as the leader of the team. So let's just talk about the show a little bit more for a moment. Because Ark II was part of CBS's Saturday morning lineup for a pretty long time, almost 4 years in fact. The weird thing is that, much like the shows by Sid and Marty Krofft, these live-action filmation productions only had first-run episodes for 1 or 2 seasons. In the case of Ark II, it was just 1 season. New episodes only ran from September to, get this, December of 1976. There were only 15 episodes ever made, but CBS ran them over and over like a champ, all the way through 1979. In fact, CBS was still running Ark II when Terry showed up on a guilty pleasure of mine, the NBC television movie Kiss Meets the Phantom. In the movie, Lester plays Sam, an employee of an amusement park where a mad scientist works. Suffice it to say, he discovers things that he shouldn't, and bad things happen, but spoiler alert, Kiss manages to save the day. And while the movie is pretty bad, I do my best to watch it at least once a year prior to Halloween. It's the least that I can do as a loyal member of the Kiss Army. As I've already mentioned, it was in 1980 that Terry finally found the fame that he was looking for as Jack Abbott on The Young and the Restless. His character was, according to Wikipedia, a scoundrel who never met a woman that he didn't want to spend the night with. Apparently, Lester's character was so popular that the show's creator wrote in an entire family for him. Lester's popularity on the show helped propel it to the top of the daytime TV ratings. However, as the show became more popular, Terry became increasingly dissatisfied with how his character was being handled, and because of that, left the show in 1989. After a brief stint on the NBC soap Santa Barbara, Lester joined the cast of As the World Turns as a character suffering from a multiple personality disorder, which gave him a role that both critics and fans alike really seemed to enjoy him in. In 1994, Terry would leave daytime dramas behind for good and spend the remainder of his career making guest appearances on shows like Star Trek Voyager, JAG, Diagnosis Murder, and Walker, Texas Ranger. Sadly, Terry Lester passed away unexpectedly and quite suddenly on November 28, 2003. While circumstances surrounding his death weren't immediately revealed, it was later disclosed that Lester had suffered a series of heart attacks. I will say that a little bit of searching on the internet reveals that there may be more to this story. So let me just say this. Terry Lester was a great person. Not only did he achieve fame in the world of entertainment, but he also quietly volunteered countless hours over the course of his lifetime to causes that he felt were important to him. He just didn't make a big deal about those things because that's not the kind of person he was.
In 1974, viewers of Saturday morning television were in for a big surprise when CBS, working with Filmation and a handful of other studios, made the decision to overhaul their cartoon-heavy lineup with live-action programming designed for kids. One of the first to debut was Shazam, starring Michael Gray as Billy Batson, and Jackson Bostwick as the hero that he transforms into with one magic word. Man, I really love this photo. Of course, it's just a publicity still. There's no way that Billy Batson and Captain Marvel could ever be in the same shot. They are, after all, essentially the same person. Still, it's a great picture, and it does a good job of establishing just how heroic Jackson Bostwick looked wearing the traditional Captain Marvel uniform. The show would start each week by explaining that Billy Batson had been chosen from among all others by the immortal elders Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury, and that with his mentor he traveled the highways and byways of the land on a never-ending mission to right wrongs and develop understanding and to seek justice for all. Man, I ate this stuff up. I really did. Way back then, I didn't blink twice at the cheesy mix of live action and animation on the intro. When Billy Batson, in times of danger and need, uttered that single word Shazam, I was in seventh heaven. Yep, we had live action superheroes again on TV. Something that I hadn't seen since 1968 when the dynamic duo were part of ABC's primetime lineup. And well, Batman's sole purpose, at least way back then, was to entertain. This version of Shazam, as explained in the intro, sought to forge understanding. Yep, in between my bites of Lucky Charms cereal, I would actually learn a thing or two about how to interact with others and make good decisions each day. And as if that weren't enough, at the end of each episode, Captain Marvel would show back up and summarize the lesson that I should have learned from that week's episode. No doubt about it, I am a better person because I watched Shazam on Saturday morning TV. I remember reading a TV Guide article way back then about how they made actor Jackson Bostwick fly. Admittedly, the special effects employed on the show weren't great, but they were enough, at least in 1974. What impressed me the most from the article was the old school method for filming flight. In many cases, they were simply strapping Jackson to a diving board that had been placed on top of a vehicle and then driving him down the road while they filmed. Shazam was such a success that as it moved into season 2, a companion program starring the lovely Joanna Cameron debuted alongside it. I watched both shows, one for the heroism and adventure, the other for the same things, plus, well, other things that might interest a young man just entering his teenage years. As you might be able to tell, I thought the actors on both shows were great, especially Jackson Bostwick. So you can imagine my surprise when after just 2 episodes of season 2, this guy showed up. Without any sort of fair warning, something had happened to Captain Marvel. He didn't look the same at all. He seemed less heroic and slightly more portly, to tell you the truth. I didn't get it. What happened? Was this part of a story? Had the real Captain Marvel been kidnapped? Unfortunately, as the season went along, I realized that this guy was here to stay. Don't get me wrong, I still watched the show. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't as great. So what happened? Where did Jackson Bostwick go? Well, according to Wikipedia, when Bostwick did not show up for a shooting one day, the producers accused him of holding out for a higher salary and terminated his employment on the spot, replacing him with actor John Davey. Bostwick tried to explain that he'd sustained an injury from the previous day's filming and had gone to seek medical treatment, but apparently they were not buying his story. Bostwick did successfully litigate against Filmation Associates, and they were forced to pay him for the remainder of his contract, plus residuals, for the entire second season. Since that time, Bostwick has appeared in several minor movie roles, such as a sentry in My Science Project back in the mid-'80s, and a guard in, multiple guards in Tron. He also played a park ranger, Mark O'Brien, in the horror film The Prey way back in 1984. At some point, Bostwick returned to Alabama and taught theater at Auburn University, where he directed several plays, including The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. Bostwick is a frequent comic convention attendee, and he's in the process right now, he's been talking about it for quite a while, of finishing up a book about his life and career called Myth, Magic, and Immortal.
And now, this message.
Butter. Butter. Parquet. Margarine. The big 1-pound bowl. Butter. Parquet. I use the bowls for leftovers and things. Butter. Parquet. Light, creamy. Butter. Parquet. Isn't that what I said?
Parquet margarine in the 1-pound bowl from Kraft. The flavor says butter.
Man, you never would believe where those Zesta saltines come from. They're baked by little elves in a hollow tree. And what do you think makes those crackers so uncommon? They're baked in magic ovens and there's no factory. Hey!
There's gotta be a factory. I don't believe in elves. But for a tiny little factory person, you bake uncommonly good saltines.
Zesta Saltines. From Keebler.
Thank you all for standing by through and through and through. It's the kind of strength that lifts the shadows too. And all I gotta say
on that thumbnail, cause it's time to go. Dave's got the classics, let the memories flow. TV shows and movies that we all hold so dear. On his YouTube channel, he's keeping memories near. Dave Sundstrom, bringing back the good stuff, oh yeah.